Hey guys, what's up? It's your boy David from Pandaily. This is the Honor 9X Pro. I'm not going to go into too many details about the specs. I will talk about just the general user experience. Now for starters, compared to the 8X Max from last year, they've upgraded the screen to a 6.59-inch IPS LCD display panel. And in terms of hand feel, it's actually pretty good for like a roughly $300 phone. The back cover is made with 3D glass and gives off like an X-shaped gleam when lights shine under it. Sort of like a chic and dynamic new design for the younger crowds. I'm okay with it, but if I were to choose, I'd probably go for something else because it's not exactly my kind of tea. Alright, for me personally, this phone doesn't feel as comfortable as it looks to hold. The glossy glass back sort of still have protruding edges, so it doesn't feel as well to me. Not compared to this Oppo Reno over here, which also has a glossy glass back. What's really interesting this time is that Honor went for a side-mounted fingerprint scanner. Just like the Sony Xperia, but Chinese manufacturers usually have their fingerprint scanner right here or on the back. So this is really different from Honor to have the fingerprint scanner right here. Performance-wise, they went from Qualcomm Snapdragon last year to this year's Huawei Kirin 810. And this phone is a 8GB and 128GB configuration. Altogether, it's a pretty solid chip and can more or less rival Qualcomm Snapdragon. And I thought the best way for me to show you guys is just do like a comparison between the Honor and let's say a OnePlus 7. Generally, the Kirin 810 fares quite well against Snapdragon 855. Some apps even open slightly faster than the Snapdragon, so that's a pretty good job on Huawei's part. Performance-intensive games ran pretty smoothly on this guy. For example, titles like PUBG, Asphalt 9, Arena of Valor, I had no problem cranking these games up to max graphics while playing. I had no lag spikes playing a 30-minute game on PUBG. Camera movements, running, firing were all smooth and uninterrupted. So far, so good. But aside from performance, this guy still had a heat dissipation issue. So even though it's equipped with a liquid cooling system like many other phones that's been released recently, it's still kind of subpar when it comes to thermal management. On the plus side though, the battery did drain pretty slowly. When I played about like a 30-minute game or so, the battery drained about 7%. So, which is why I could say it's justified that they went from a 5,000 mAh battery to 4,000 mAh this time. I think it's more than enough for an average person. The 9X Pro features a standard 48 megapixel plus an 8 megapixel ultra wide and a 2 megapixel telephoto triple lens setup. The stock camera app, it's quite good. Everything from exposure levels to dynamic ranges are nice. It retained a relatively good sharpness after zooming in 2 times as well. Now the ultra-wide angle mode is pretty great too, but as soon as you zoom in, the overall image looks rather average, but you know, the blur treatment is heavily applied when you zoom in, but this was expected because it's after all an 8 megapixel lens. And taking portraits, well, when you compare to the OnePlus 7 side by side, OnePlus has a higher dynamic color contrast and a higher saturation. Compared to Honor, I'd say the 9X kind of looks a little better here because the bokeh just looks a lot more natural in this context. So overall, this is a relatively great camera for regular users, nothing too crazy that must be said here. So I'd say under regular lighting conditions, the camera is pretty solid overall. And now let's take a look at the selfie camera. Okay, the 16 megapixel selfie camera on the Honor 9X Pro is slightly more yellowish and has a more sharpened tone to the images. If you compare side by side to the OnePlus 7 on the right side and Oppo Reno on the left, you can see that OnePlus has probably the more natural looking pictures because look, my skin color is actually this dark. Not compared to the Reno because Reno sort of has like a filter over it. I don't actually look that white. And also in terms of, actual pulling up the image, OnePlus has obviously got my face a lot bigger and compared to, Reno, which is a lot further back. So Honor is sitting at a relatively comfortable position right now. So overall, this is a solid phone through and through. Huawei's emotional UI is pretty good. Oh yeah, it has a headphone jack. It's kind of funny how this is even a feature now for phones coming out. But anyway, the only problems I have with this phone are 2 points. Number 1, the side-mounted fingerprint scanner isn't exactly easy to get used to. For example, today is August 13th, and it's International Left-Handers Day. And it's not exactly easy for left-handed people to get used to something like this as opposed to right here. And also, sometimes I don't actually want to unlock my phone just yet, but I have no choice because as soon as I put my thumb on, it's unlocked. Look at this. Number 2, the pop-up camera is way too slow when it opens up. It actually just brings down the user experience when you have it that slow. Check it out. I mean, to give you guys a better idea, I'll just compare it to the OnePlus 7 Pro. So overall, I would say this is a pretty solid and powerful phone. I mean, at $300 roughly, if you can look past the fact that the pop-up camera is slow or the fingerprint sensors on the side, everything else is pretty great with this phone. So that's my thoughts on this. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching, and I will catch you guys on the flip-flop.